So what up, though? We are back with another episode of Speak for Yourself. Of course, I have none other than the Ken Elkins.
What's happening?
And a special guest is Kim Johnson from Developing K.I.D.S. Our first guest here at our new spot, Ken.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. So I don't know if you know or not, but the way that we like to introduce you to our audience is by you introducing yourself. So how would you like our listeners and our viewers to know you?
So a little bit about me. Born and raised in the city of Detroit. Moved out of Detroit not by choice, but more by circumstance. I am the mother of 3 adult children. I'm a DPSCD graduate, HBCU graduate, proud of that.
Okay.
And I came along a nonprofit journey, again, not by choice, but by mission, I would say. And I just really enjoy what I do. I'm the president, founder, and CEO of Developing K.I.D.S, also a co-founder of BEDAD, which is the Black Executive Director Alliance of Detroit.
Nice, nice, nice. So what is Developing K.I.D.S?
Developing K.I.D.S is an entity that serves young people from 5 to 24. In a couple of months, we will go down to serving young people starting at age 3. We do after-school programming, summer programming at no cost to children or their families. Those activities include financial literacy, leadership development. We do languages in the summer. They can learn Mandarin, sign language, Spanish. We do multiple field trips for each age group. So we're taking young people to Ohio for the African Safari. We're taking them to museums. We're taking them to all of the metro parks. All of these things are at no cost to them. We provide care packages for our students who are in college and trade schools once a semester. We provide them with a $500 stipend to buy basic needs. Sometimes young people drop out of college because they can't afford the $200 calculator, or they need boots or a coat. And so we provide those stipends to them every semester. We also do coaching so that they have someone who they can talk to guide and mentor them through the process of, you don't have enough credit hours. Don't let that school keep you at 12 credit hours every semester. If they decide to go straight into a career, we have partnerships with companies where we help them to navigate that space. We want them to succeed no matter what they do in life and whatever their goals are. And the magic sauce is in relationships, because we don't just develop them with the youth, but we develop them with their families.
So what was the motivation behind you starting Developing K.I.D.S, right? What pushed you to move into this?
I graduated from college, moved back here, and my husband at the time, he did not want to come back to Detroit. He had a great job in Cleveland, Ohio, and I wanted to come back to family. I also grew up on a block where only 5 of us graduated from high school on time, and there were about 40 of us on one block. So seeing how several of my childhood friends were in prison, had been murdered, had committed some murders, some of those things, I said I had to come back. And it wasn't that we were living in a neighborhood where single families or low income, parents had great jobs. They ended up not being my story by the time I got to high school, but 2-parent households. But it was because we didn't have productive things to do by the time we hit our teenage years. So it became the streets. Some leaders moved into the neighborhood that led the wrong way. And I'm very thankful for a middle school principal who told me to just leave. I had nothing, about $260. I wouldn't even go into how I got that money. But that's what I had to leave and go to school with. And she was like, you will figure it out. And I never forget that. And I'm still in contact with her. But it was to come back and figure out how I could help. And when I moved back to Detroit, the kids were knocking on my door to play with my kids. And I said, play where? I was taking my kids to the suburbs to go to quality programs. You know, college-educated woman moving to the city, everybody was like, you need to move to the suburbs. No, I'm going to ride for my city. So I created Developing K.I.D.S, and I felt that parents shouldn't have to decide if they can pay a DTE bill in order not pay a DTE bill because they want to send their kids to a quality program. So that's why our programs are at no cost. It's a struggle. We fundraise, I write grants all the time, but our programs are free to everyone who comes. I was not aware at the time that my current husband then had a mental health challenge. hidden, as we do in black families. And so he committed suicide. But in the process of doing that, he tried to take my life as well. So I almost lost my life. I lost part of my vision. But medically, I shouldn't be here. But I'm sitting here talking and looking at y'all, so it's all well. And I had just started Developing K.I.D.S about 5 months before then. So it was, nope, I'm going to continue this mission that I've been given. And here we are 17 years later.
17
That's
years
awesome.
later.
17 years later. Yeah, I remember actually meeting you. I believe it might have been like 2013, 14.
Yes.
Somewhere around about there, when you were in the thick of things, building, developing kids, and now to see where the organization at today, just good to see that. Very proud
Thank you.
of the work you put in, and I think a lot of people. A lot of times you hear people saying, I'm starting a nonprofit, right? You hear that so often, not understanding just how much work goes in starting a nonprofit. So talk a little bit about that.
It's been easy, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been easy, right?
I have tried to get out of this a couple times. Let me tell you. I have mentored folks and turned them away, and they now have for-profit businesses that are very fruitful. And it was, you didn't need to start a nonprofit. I felt, again, that this was a mission for me. It's not something that I chose to do, and it takes a lot. Folks think that you can get a 501c3 and the money is just going to fall from the sky. But it takes building relationships. It takes getting those folks to trust you. I may get to know you, and I'm not going to ask you for any money for a couple years. I just want you to learn about what I'm doing, get to know what I'm doing, come and see the work for yourself. And so for the first 11 years, I didn't pay myself a salary. It was whatever money I had, it was either going directly to serving the young people, because that's when we started, only serving kids. And it was hiring people to work 6 hours a week, 10 hours a week. And increasing that hours for people, increasing the number of people who I had on my team. By the time I became a full-time paid team member, I had about 8 people on my team. And so January 1st, 2020, of all years, I decided to walk away. I decided a couple months before, but to quit my job and to do this full-time. And Developing K.I.D.S has done nothing but thrive ever since. But it's learning from other people, too.
Yeah.
So you had a job while running it for all those times, so that's why you weren't drawing the salary. I was wondering if you came up on your money the same way you got that $260 to get out of town. I was sitting there like,
You don't want to talk
right. I'm like,
I ain't talking about why I got this
I
up.
imagine Kim in the middle, thick of a dice game. You know what I mean? Shooting 5, hitting 5.
I'm telling you, that's the Kim Johnson. That's the Kim Johnson. It was. I know how to do that too. But I would tell you, it was quite a bit of a challenge during that time, and it was. And sometimes you have to give and connect with people, and do it genuinely from your heart, and you don't know where to lead to.
Yeah.
So it was, that. Challenge happened to me and my family, left me being a widow with 3 children under the age of 10. And it was, how do I move forward? But I literally told my boss, I was like, no, give my job to that person who I prepared to lead, and I will figure things out. So I had everything from consulting work that was provided for me, where people came and said, I know the work you do. I need you to do this work for me. I was doing some volunteer work at Don Bosco Hall when they moved into the community center over Chicago, and running Developing K.I.D.S, helping to grow that center as a volunteer. I didn't know Charles Small had an opportunity to lead the Youth Development Alliance. And I remember crying one night saying, I am giving so much of myself, and I need to figure out, I need to get a full-time job. I need to let this consulting work go, because I was doing consulting work, but half the people, I was doing the work for them for free. Missing my own grant deadlines, helping other people to write grants.
Right.
And he found out that I was looking for a job and came to me literally the next day and said, I need you for this role. So again, I was doing things to help the community at no cost, but then look at what it got me, a career that I became very fruitful in, and met a lot of people, learned a lot of different skills.
Nice.
I think that's one of the things you alluded to earlier, when people jump into working with a nonprofit, I say for impact organization, is if money's one of the first things on your mind, you're gonna fail.
That's right.
Like you normally, like yourself, you're leading with the passion, not even worried about the money, and the money's gonna come, right? I know we started BLD, even though our organization is about giving money, it started with us just a passion of helping Black entrepreneurs, and it was more of how do we generate funds to give out, not to pay ourselves, but how do we generate funds to give out? And I just remember the first bit of money we got, we gave that money all away, right out the jump, right? But again, I think people have to come in with that mindset. But going back to you, with what you had to go through, starting, developing kids, and having your husband try to kill you and commit suicide when you have 3 kids together. Like that is the perseverance and fortitude to rise out of that is very commendable. So just want to say,
definitely,
bless you.
Thank you.
Definitely. We talked a little bit earlier about, wondering what was your biggest mistake, your biggest F up, right? I mean, we know that.
Fuck up.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll say it.
Say what it is.
Dwan don't curse
Ken
on
will
camera.
say it.
Fuck up. You want to know your biggest fuck up?
What was that for you? I can think of a couple for me, but I think some of the things that really help people that are out in the mission field is knowing that someone like Kim Johnson has made like huge mistakes as well, right? Because I'm sure that there's somebody that's watching that's either in the midst of making a mistake or have made mistakes, and sometimes it feels lonely because part of what we're trained to do is pretend that we have it all together, right? And I've talked to very successful business owners that talked about laying in home in the bed with knots in their stomach, not wanting to get up. And they're like thriving today. If you wouldn't imagine those people having those type of days, but what did that look like for you?
I tell people all the time, we've had a lot of successes recently, but don't just see the glory, it's the story behind all of it. I can think of so many of those F-ups. One, I would say, was allowing a partnership not to list me as a partner. I believe that they felt my name wasn't, and it wasn't everyone, it was only one entity of like a 5-organization partnership, felt my name wasn't big enough. Developing K.I.D.S wasn't known enough to be listed as a partner, but I was doing the key work backdoor of the partnership. And it took off. It was extremely successful. And then, so the second year, I asked to be added in the same organization, did not want to list us. So I pulled back and I said, then we don't want your money, and we're going to cut ties with this collaboration that's happening. It ended shortly after. And I remember this is why, I remember going to the funder for that partnership and talking to them, and they said, well, no, because we don't have a history of anything that you did right now, da-da-da-da. But they had no idea that I had done, I was doing the work that they were funding. So it's about not allowing yourself to be put to the side.
Yes.
Valuing the work that you do, and understanding that it doesn't matter. I always said, developing K.I.D.S may be a small fish, but we're gonna swim with the whales. We're gonna do the level of work that we need to do, and we're gonna work accordingly. And I have also been in a partnership. Well, it wasn't a partnership, but someone came to me and they were struggling about some work their nonprofit needed to do, and they were going to lose a grant, some funding. And I said, well, I really need this. And as a small nonprofit, for us, it's always barter, free, how can we make this work? Yeah. So, okay, you need this. I can do that with my eyes closed. But can you set up my financial books for me? We were early in the A stages. I said, this is what I need help with. They said, sure, I'll do that.
Nice.
I set up their programmatic things to run. it took off. Everybody on the team getting new cars. It had like a for-profit arm to it. It just took off, was extremely successful. They never touched and did the work that I asked them to do for it. Never paid me $1, and I didn't want any money for it.
You just wanted them to show up in the way that they are committed to.
Show up in the way you committed. I just needed you to set up QuickBooks for me and really make sure it was done the correct way. But they made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of the system that I set up for them. And but I could say today that their nonprofit doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So it's sometimes you are burned along the way in the work, but don't let it discourage you. Just to keep moving forward. And if you're doing the work, do the work. Everything else will come. Don't be discouraged about how do they get this money? I'm doing all of this.
Right.
No, it's all right. Just keep doing the work.
Keep doing the work.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. So how do you keep yourself from entering into those type of partnerships now? Do you still use the same method for vetting potential partners, or have you changed the way that you look at potential partners now?
I definitely look at MOUs, and the MOUs will say that you have to utilize our name if it's for a specific partnership or we're doing work in it. I want to make sure that we're listed so that now we have a document that states that you have to use us in your branding of that project when it's mentioned. Additionally, I vet partners. I don't partner with any and everyone. I'm looking at the work that you've done, and it's not even a gossip I need to go ask everyone. Typically, I run into kids. Kids will tell you everything. Yeah. So you may say you run this program. The kids will tell me what's really happening. Yeah. And so I look online. I look at LinkedIn. I look at websites and really vet through that person and pay attention to spaces. Are they in certain spaces? And what have I seen and what have I heard without even asking a question. So.
That's nice. So you told us your biggest F-up. What's the one thing or one of the things that you're most proud of in the work that you've done with Developing K.I.D.S?
I am most proud of something I was just sharing with you both, that not only did we purchase a building in May of 2022, a 23,000 square foot facility, but I had multiple professionals in the fundraising field tell me that it was a little impossible and too ambitious for me to believe that I could raise $6 to $8 million in a couple years. They're like, there are people, this takes 10 years, Kim, you need to plan it out. In less than 1 year, we hit $3.2 million.
Wow.
Nice. Congratulations again.
Yeah,
Again. That's
Thank you.
That is huge. Right?
Thank you.
And that takes work.
Yes.
That takes a lot of work. I don't want anyone watching like, oh man, I'm gonna go get a building and go raise it. No, that takes a lot of work, a lot of commitment. Yeah. And so for you to be able to do that is definitely commendable.
And I'll tell you, some of it is, as I mentioned before, it's trust. The people who came in with the largest donations or the largest gifts were those foundations and folks who I had built relationships with. When I first met them, it wasn't, hey, I'm coming to you about money, but it was, hey, you want to come by and see what I do? You can drop in whenever you want to do, whenever you want to. We don't do horse and pony shows. You may see complete chaos one day, and another day you may see wonderful programming, but this is what we do. And allowing them to come in whenever they wanted to see our work, and sharing information about how we were growing. And then so when I made the ask, I believe they felt comfortable and they knew what we were doing.
Nice. Still dropping tips from more money, more impact, right? No, that's really good. I mean, that really makes us feel good. I mean, that's the reason we started the organization, because we know that there are people out there running organizations like Developing K.I.D.S that their heart is in it for the right reasons. They just having the same level of access to capital, having the same level of access to those relationships with people that can write big checks, or even knowing that that's the approach to take isn't always there for us, right? Yes. Often we're practitioners looking to solve the problem, and we understand the problem and the solution well, but the money that it takes to scale it and do that is a different skill set altogether. So it's really exciting for me personally when I hear you say that, 17 years in, those first, 10 years you wasn't drawing a salary, but now not only are you able to draw a salary, providing salaries for all the others, not to mention the contractors doing the work.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That's huge.
Thank you.
And Dwan mentioned more money, more impact. So we held more money, more impact, tips to fund development. You were a participant in that or a guest. Talk a little bit about that. First, what even made you want to attend the event?
So Dwan was our keynote speaker at the BEDAD Summit.
Right, him as the keynote?
Yes.
It was
awesome
a rough
job.
week. There was slim pickings. There was slim pickings out there.
He was highly recommended.
Slim pickings. The dude at the liquor store wasn't available.
He did a phenomenal job. It was so inspirational. And, just talking with members afterward, they said how you were the perfect person to wine, to really just sharing your story, being very transparent. And it was very inspiring that evening.
Thanks.
And that was my first time really hearing your story. So you shared about the event, and I'm the person where I feel, especially because a lot of struggles I had starting Developing K.I.D.S, I felt like no one wanted to share any information. Right. Who does your liability insurance?
Right.
Oh, I'll email you. Never can't get an email? So that went into one of the reasons on co-founding BEDAD. It shouldn't be that difficult, providing people with resources and information. And so when learning about it, I said to our virtual assistant, send it out to everybody, send it out to the whole membership, put it in our newsletter, on our social media so folks know about it. And I recently developed a development team of Developing K.I.D.S. So it's 2 individuals plus myself. Myself, and our development director came to the event. All 3 said it was the best development event, professional development type event they have been to. Wow. They was like, I can't tell you another that has been more impactful than this event, 2-day event. So kudos to you. And I heard that from my team, but I heard it from several other people. There was a woman, I'm sorry, she called me Wednesday night. I was waiting on you to return my phone call. I told you I really need you to mentor me. I said, I don't have the capacity to mentor another person. But there's an event going on. It's day 2. They said they'll still let people in the door. I said, tell them Kim Johnson said she is sorry, but I told you to come. She came.
Oh, she did? Okay.
She won a regional chamber membership.
Oh, nice.
She was so excited, and she has texted me about 3 times. And just thankful that for everything that she received from the event, the knowledge, the tips, and all of that. And multiple people were just saying how impactful. I can say for myself, I heard a lot of things that I'd already known, but it was great to hear it validated again, to hear it again. All of the panelists were well chosen. Great job on that. Even the moderators, because they were transparent, they were comical. I love to laugh. And just dropping real information. Don't give me something out of a book and tell me to go find real tips and tools that you can use today.
Right.
What was impactful to me, again, was there were 3 people on one panel who I had just emailed. This is before I knew about the More Money, More Impact, about a grant. Either I submitted an LOI or I contacted them to follow up about funding. So at the event, I went up to introduce myself. They said, I thought that was you. Yeah. So again, taking that opportunity to get right in front of them, to say, face to face, here I am, how can we follow up? Just excited about that, and it was great.
That was our desire, right? Like that was, so if you noticed, some of those panelists, we built in a break right after that, right? So that was intentional because we wanted you all to have time to go and connect with them.
Thank you.
I had a few people come up to me and say, hey, can you make an introduction to such and such and such? I was like, you were in the room with them. You know what I mean? So
had an opportunity.
You have to go. Right. You have to like push yourself to go up there and at least introduce yourself, because those people that especially the people that we had there, they're real people.
Absolutely.
And they really care as much as we do, right? And they're in that position. If they weren't in those seats, they would be doing the work that we're doing, right? That's just who they are. So, I'm glad that you were able to to make those connections, and they were just as excited to be in the room with all of you. I got, Kevin Ryan sent me an email talking about he used to put on something similar to this in New York like 3 or 4 times a year. And he said he was so glad to see it happening in Detroit. So,
he was one of those people too.
Yeah.
We definitely appreciate that, because it's interesting, like, as Dwan mentioned, our goal for creating, but one of them was just as you mentioned, Dwan especially, have a lot of people like, hey, can you talk to me about this? Can you mentor me on this? And especially when it gets around fund development and all these questions coming in, and you want to help everyone, right? Yeah. But you just, as you just mentioned, you just now no longer have the capacity to help everyone and do the work you're supposed to be doing. Absolutely. So then he was like, hey, well, let's do this event where we can help everyone at one time, right? But the humbling part about that, like, so we got a lot of good feedback. Like, we don't profess to know everything about fund development, right? All we wanted to do was provide the information that we know.
Right.
Yes.
And put people in a room that also know more than us.
That's it.
And let them provide the information that they know. And let people walk away with whatever they walk away with from there. So to be able to get that feedback from you, someone who's been doing this work for so long, someone who just raised $3 million for their building fund.
In a year. Not in a dice game.
Right.
It wasn't a dice game this time.
So to get that feedback from you, it's just good for us to hear, to know that the event did serve its purpose, and to kind of, because to be honest, we was like, look, we're gonna do this once. We ain't doing it again.
Oh no, it's expected now. Please don't think. It is expected.
We just put it on our next year's budget, but it wasn't on there until me and him talked about it yesterday. Like, dang, man, we got to put this on.
Like, well, we gonna tell them the same thing.
Hey,
unless we learn something, right? We're gonna come back, right?
So she gonna have something new to tell them.
That's it.
It was. I can tell you, I have had from our previous strategic plan. There was a scorecard on my performance that used to be kept on our website, and it changed every month. After this More Money, More Impact, I have created a scorecard for the entire team, and it will still go on there. But that came out of the event. So it was, you know what, this is a tool that we need to use so we can track progress for everyone in one document. So there were so many tools and nuggets that I walked away with. I truly appreciate you hosting that event. I'll be waiting for next year.
That's what's up. But to that point, right, that was from the request from day one. We didn't intend to share the scorecard. Right. But once we realized that, like, it was something that the audience wanted to see, we prepared for it the night after day one and was ready to present it, for day two. So that's it. Just sharing, like Ken said, the things that we know and getting more people that understand it at a different level or different components. We want to talk a little bit about BEDAD. What is BEDAD, and how would someone know if they were qualified to become a part and a member of BEDAD?
Okay. It is the Black Executive Director Alliance of Detroit. Initially, we were created for Black founders, Black folks. I was asked, will we do BIPOC? Nope, Black people. And they had to be founders of nonprofit organizations serving youth in Detroit. But we had so many requests where there are leaders or folks that are executive directors in nonprofits where they are not the founder, but they still have such a heavy burden. And they were like, they could really use that support. Yeah. So we modified our mission to where it is for Black leaders, Black senior leaders, there's different titles for that, of nonprofits that are serving youth in Detroit. That's our qualification. No budget level. You can have a zero budget to 15 million. Come in. So we have networking events on a quarterly basis. We have an alliance meeting on a quarterly basis. And then we have our summit that we will have in October next year. Our winter holiday party is next week. And at our alliance meetings, it's time for us to really talk about those things that are bothering us. How do we learn from one another to get past some pitfalls, to know that, hey, that's okay. I have people that call me sometimes and say, can you just tell me about workers' compensation? to be vulnerable in a space where you're not looked down upon, and you just want to know some of those little things that can help you go from a grassroots to a small nonprofit and then to the next level. So it's about mentoring on that level, talking to one another to share that information. Sometimes I just may want to vent about what's going on. You know, my board, there may be no one on my board who looks like me. How do I navigate that process where I feel like I'm being kept to a standard of the founder who didn't look like me either? How do you have those conversations? So there may be somebody else in BEDAD who can walk them through and mentor and guide them through that process. And that's honestly what it's about. We created a fellowship where we will have 2 to 3 fellows every year. This past year we had 3. And where they would get $15,000 in general operating funds. Not a lot. But something, you know,
you said $15,000.
$15,000.
Not a lot.
Hey, you know, some people will say like it's not
You gonna
$100.
give me $15,000 and you gonna mentor me?
Yes.
What?
And in addition, I'll tell you, in addition to the $15,000 general operating and the mentoring, every month we pay an executive coach to meet with them for an hour.
Nice.
So now you have that guidance. In addition to the BEDAD body, also you're getting 12 hours of services from anyone that could be legal, HR, or finance to help you develop your organization.
Love it, love it.
So,
And you're saying, so now it's moved to senior leaders. So it's any senior leader, not just the executive director, right?
they have to be the executive director, but some people say they're CEO or the executive director.
I don't like that idea.
President.
As a COO,
Yes.
I need somebody to talk to about him.
That's true.
Go find something else.
Create something else.
Something else.
You definitely have to be a senior leader. However, I will say when we have events like our summit, even our holiday party, it doesn't have to just be the senior leader. So that's when you can bring someone else to the team. Or let's say we'll have a speaker. Princess Castleberry has done some workshops for us, and very experienced in HR. She can come, so the executive director can come, and they can bring another senior leader from their organization too. So
Very good.
Nice.
Very, very needed too. Much needed.
Sure.
We
Glad
have
to
all
see
the
that.
support for small businesses that we hear a lot about in our ecosystem with the work we're doing, but to see that there's support for nonprofits as well, because again, or for impact organizations, again, to get into this work from a passion point of view, but not knowing how to actually do the business side of it, right?
yes, and I can tell you for Developing K.I.D.S, I won't go into naming our foundations, but we were the first organization to make it on their portfolio that came from a small, like, grassroots nonprofit to actually make it to their portfolio. And typically that doesn't happen. Nonprofits stay at grassroots level. They may make it to a small nonprofit level, but they don't go beyond that. So a lot of my advocacy has been to, how do you break that apart? Are you really looking at, the diversity on boards and on team members, making sure that all the black folks on the team are not the ones, a direct service, we're the ones that in leadership.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly.
I was looking at that the other day.
Yeah.
I won't say what we were looking at.
We spent a lot of time looking
We
at
were
that.
just talking about that the other day when we were looking at
Definitely.
something.
Well, it has been great to have you join us on Speak for Yourself. Is there anything else that you didn't get out that you wanted to share before we bring it to a close?
I would say anyone wants to learn more about Developing K.I.D.S, it's developingkids.org. We're on social media, everything. And I'm just honored. It was awesome to come to More Money, More Impact. Again, I'm looking forward to next year, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. You've heard it. That's it. We'll see y'all next time. Speak for yourself. Peace.
Yeah. 6.
Nice.
I have ask out there that could get us to the goal, but doing along with IFF because it's that whole balance of y'all gonna tell us we got it yet, and I already started, so I've already spent $1 million.
IFF, okay.
Yeah, so
so that'll
IFF.
be a loan.
It's a loan.
What's the interest rates?
7.25.
Okay.
And the challenge is they're taking so long.
Okay.
So I already have cash that's available to do what we need to do till beginning of January.
Okay.
So hopefully by January, IFF will be like, okay, they can start billing us now for the rest of
Got
it.
you. Is that the only debt? The IFF?
It's the only debt. I have no debt.
Okay. And so how much?
17
So you
years.
trying to get them to take up the
4.5. That loan will be for 4.5 million. It's like 4,550,000.
Okay.
We have a grant asked to Balmer for 1.2.
Okay.
Actually, I'm sorry, 2 million.
Okay.
Y'all know they move real
Slow.
slow. We did apply for that Michigan Leo Grant Community Center grant for 2.5 million. That
Okay.
was it. That award announcement was supposed to come out October 23rd. The 19th, they sent a delay. Oh, we're going to do it in December. Yesterday, I got another email. Oh, we're trying to be fair and equitable. We're going to announce it in January. Like, come on. So
Right.
So they're gonna announce if you got it, or they're gonna announce that you got it.
if we,
Okay.
they're going to say who in Michigan. They had 60 million for
Okay.
those grants. They're going to announce everybody who gets it. Now they
Nice.
moved it to January.
And who was that again?
Michigan, state of Michigan. They're
Okay, state of Michigan.
labor and economic.
Yep, nice.
So that's 2.5. So if we got that along with Balmer, that's the 4.5.
Yeah. Right there.
Yeah.
You know, and then we have some other grants out there, but it's just like trying to balance that time. So I just said, let me just take out this debt. That's the only,
Yeah.
as I mentioned, that's the only debt we have. And trying to make it work.
It's to be a whole now after school community center.
We good?
After school,
Yeah. Okay.
after school, summer, workforce development,
Nice.
community support. And then we're going to allow, we'll have like some rental spaces for community-wide, but then have some stuff for nonprofits to rent from us too.
Nice.
Ballroom. yeah.
All right.
Y'all set, sir?
Kimberly or Kim? Oh, you want me to
Kim.
introduce- Kim. Got you. It's Jackson.
Johnson.
Johnson. Sorry.
Nope, yeah.
We good? Microphone checks. All good?
Testing. And it's the wide shot right here, right? That's the wide shot.